Hello and welcome to my capstone. This is called Building a Course with All the Pieces Aligned, something we've learned about quite a bit in our training here. My name is HSatinsky and it's very nice to be here. So where do we start? As we've learned, nothing ends very well unless we build on a correct foundation. Now this starts with a course description and course objectives, which clearly outline what the students will learn. These are usually predefined out of the designer's authority to change. Now, I had the opportunity to actually build a course from scratch where I was the content expert and the ID person. It's quite the experience. And even in that capacity, I was handed a syllabus that had course description and course objectives, and I built from there. Okay? So that was the course that I used actually throughout this course as examples because I had had a lot of experience with that and doing these things that we've been talking about. Which brings us to the things we do have control over. And these are the learning outcomes. Again, this is the foundation upon which we build our course, right? So we have learning outcomes and they must be learner-centric, measurable, use action verbs, preferably Bloom's. An example of that will be students will be able to compare characters in a literary text utilizing post-colonial theory. That's pretty clear, right? Most importantly, these need to be aligned with the course objectives. This screen this is something that I'm sure you can all recognize. This is something about learning outcomes and writing them. It's the SMART method, specific and simple, meaningful and measurable, achievable, realistic and relevant, and timely. Right? It needs to be all those things. And then, of course, we have course material, content, and assessments. As you'll see, the assessments usually come first. And in my view, they should come first. They measure what has been learned. The course material is the content. It utilizes hopefully utilizes various learning strategies. And of course, it must be ADA compliant. No small chore. This brings us to a tool that we've developed here at Govan College that we really like a lot. That's the upside. The downside is we've had a lot of trouble getting it to where faculty is mandated to use it when developing courses, but it is certainly encouraged, and I used it for sure when I developed my course. And let me just show this to you quickly. This is the alignment map that we use. The unit topic, this is for a unit, right? So the unit topic, or a learning module, excuse me. This is the topic here. Then we have the subtopics, 4 or 5, 3, 4, or 5 of them. And they're numbered. So it's unit 3, it would be unit 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, move from left to right, right? Then the learning outcomes, they go down in this area. And they are also numbered, numbers correlating to the subtopics. So you have these topics, and here's what the student is supposed to learn from them. And here's what the student's supposed to learn, and here's the topics they're going to learn from, right? So those two are totally aligned. And then down here are the assessments. In this area, those two are numbered the same way to the topics / to the outcomes, learning outcomes. So everything is completely aligned here as far as assessment and topics and learning outcomes. So as we begin to develop those assessments and then develop content around those, everything is already aligned. So here's the one that the course that I actually used and the unit that I used throughout this particular presentation. This was it. So it was called Show Don't Tell, Building a Scene. How to write with concrete language, in other words. Here's the subtopics of sensual writing, rhythm and emotion, creating a place, and action and scene. Notice that they're numbered. And then down here are the outcomes. These are the same ones that I've used. And they're numbered to the subtopics. So you see this particular outcome is only subtopic 3.2. It's that one. And these two actually cover three different learning outcomes. And likewise, with the alignment map with the assessments, you can see it right here. Everything is aligned. All the assessments, which are not developed, For instance, it says students will interact with other students and the instructor. That's obviously a discussion board. So the discussion forum is not laid out here in this document. We lay out in another document, which is mandatory, which is the learning plan, which will have every word that goes into the LMS goes into here first. So it's a document which is wonderful for accrediting agencies like NEASC in our case, when they come to accredit our programs and our courses. We have documents to show them how our courses were built and how they're aligned. So kind of a nice thing to have. And does all of that look familiar? When I saw this document, something we had to work with in our course, I said, oh, I think I recognize that. Again, we have the outcome here. We have our instructional strategy. I really like that. Learned a lot about that in our training. And we have the learning styles, which are being addressed, and then we have time. Very nice, very, very nice document. I liked working with this, and I'm going to find ways to use it in our training, in our work here. And again, here's another document that we had in our training here that I really liked. It's really a nice way of seeing things graphically and visually as far as aligning objectives, outcomes to assessment. I really like this. As you create the assessments, they're absolutely tied to the learning outcomes. Wonderful way of seeing things, building things, and doing things, and implementing things. So where this translates into the LMS, it's quite simple. So this is the week 3 unit that we talked about. Here's an overview, a brief overview about the topics and subtopics to be covered. Here again are the learning outcomes. Learning outcomes. And down here is a brief synopsis of the summary of the unit activities. No detail. Just a quick snapshot that a student sees. The assessment section, again, is nice and clean. It looks like this. It's in its own little section. Not a lot of scrolling right here. So we have activities and assessments. And this is the first thing is the discussion. There it is. Notice it's detailed. It's written out here. It doesn't just say students will interact with the professor. It actually has the exact requirement. There's a reading here that has to be done. And there's explicit questions about that reading that we will discuss as a group. The actual assignment is, remember, this is building a scene. There's 2 parts to it. They have to build the scene, and then they have to come up with 3 or 4 possible scenarios that could take place in that scene as they create a memoir. And I must say that I didn't originate that. I didn't originate that idea. I actually took a creative writing course at Trinity College with the Jamaican writer Michelle Cliff, and she had us do that. First assignment in our workshop was to create a scene, and next week we came back. She says, okay, you're going to spend all this class time, and you're going to start writing something that happens there. I thought that was fantastic, so I need to credit her. And the content section is right here. And here we have reading. There's the readings. Here's a presentation. There's a link for it. Here's a printable version of the presentation, more of a transcript version, right? And here's a video. This video totally is related to the reading that they do in the discussion. It's the same person who wrote the thing that they read, but it's her actually talking about it. So it gives them the perspective, it gives them the material from another perspective, which we need to do as much of that as possible. And you guys know that. So where do we fall short? In this case, where did I fall short? Did I whine? No, I don't whine. I don't whine. I just go ahead and fix it, right? That's what we do. Go ahead and fix it. So here it is, using this form that we used for our training here. Definitely need to develop more interactive content, more gamification, those types of things, more types of putting things in sequence visually, using storyline, using Captivate, using things like that. I didn't do any of that. At the time, I didn't have the skill. I believe I could be a whole lot better at all that stuff. Here at Goodwin, we have a technologist who does most of it. I'll just go to him and say, Eli, I need blah, 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 and he does it, which is very nice, but it doesn't help me to learn it. So I recognize that it's a deficiency in my toolbox, and it shows in this course. All tags are there. The ADA compliance is always a work in progress. We've got all tags. We've got some transcripts, but we're missing a lot of things. And as an institution, we're getting better at it. We have some student workers now who are working with Dragon Speak, and we're beginning to finally compile some transcripts for all our videos and get them into our courses. Not yet in this course. So I had to cite that, right? And so the other thing that's missing in this course is the rubric is wanting. The assignment rubric is definitely wanting. Rubrics are not my strong suit. I can admit that. I will readily have someone else do it. I did in that case. I wrote the rubric myself. I don't think it's really comprehensive enough. Not nearly comprehensive enough. And there's no discussion rubric. So I have to cite the course for those things. So what happens next? What happens next? Next is you pilot the course, right? And then, you run it. And hopefully you get to teach it. And I did in this case. Oh, as a matter of fact, I will be teaching this course on ground, face-to-face, in the spring here, which I'm really excited about, because what I'm going to do is I'm not going to change the content. I'm going to actually leave all the online content and maybe supplement it a little bit. I've got ideas for in-class workshops, but the material is going to stay the same, and it's going to work, which really excites me. So you pilot it, then you tweak it, you go back and tweak it some more. And most important of all, you need an engaging facilitator. I see it, and you guys know this. You have this great content, and you've done great design work, and then you put it in the hands of a facilitator, and next thing you know, students are withdrawing from the course. I mean, that doesn't happen a lot, but it does. It does happen. I mean, as someone who teaches online, someone who came to this as a teacher, I recognize the fact that if I'm teaching a course that's been poorly designed, and in other institutions, as an adjunct I do, and my questions for the professor thread is full every morning. And here, my instructions for the professor thread is empty every morning. Same facilitator, same behaviors, so I know it's the design of the course. I know because I struggle with it myself anyway. So you need to have good content, good design, and finally a good facilitator in order to be successful. All three of those things. Otherwise, students will not be engaged. Retention will be an issue. And finally, thank you, Eugene, and all of my esteemed colleagues in this course. So happy. Really, really enjoyed this thoroughly. I'm looking to do some more trainings. I have a long way to go as a designer. The more I know, the better I'm going to be. And I thought that this was just a fantastic thing to do. And thank you so much for letting me be a part of it.